Joe.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Joe. We are still a bit short on numbers by the looks of it.
Yes.
Uh,
I haven't had any apologies today.
Are you able to count? We got 7 or 8, have we? In the way of councillors?
We've got 7.
7.
Yeah.
Half.
Oh.
Okay, well that's 50%, which we've done better and we've done worse.
Yeah.
Okay, I suggest we start then, folks, if you're okay. So can I start by saying welcome to everyone to this meeting of Thetford Town Council's Planning Committee, and a particular welcome to members of the public as well as to officers and to fellow councillors. We start with item 273, which is declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interest. Do any councillors have any disclosures to make?
I can't talk. I'm in the middle of a planning meeting.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Tomorrow, okay. I've only got one meeting in the morning. So.
I'm not hearing any very formal declarations, folks, so I'm going to move on. 274, apologies for absence. Mark, have we apologies for absence?
None that I have heard of, Chair.
No,
Thank you very much. We have had a late message from Stuart Wright, Councillor Stuart Wright, apologising. So that's
okay,
one for the record, please.
Thanks very much.
And now we'll move on to 275, which is the minutes. So we want to confirm the minutes of the committee meeting held on the 11th of August 2020, and which have not yet gone to full council. I don't know whether you've got access to this, colleagues. I'm a lucky one because I've got a paper copy in front of me.
Can I just check if everyone is seeing the share screen there?
If that's possible, that would be great.
Is that?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Can you all see that? Great. Okay.
Yeah, no problems.
Okay.
Super.
I take it that no problems means no problems with agreeing the minutes. Is that, or am I exaggerating your feelings?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pass the minutes.
Thanks very much, Jenny. Okay. We're whistling through the minutes now in case anyone has a sudden desire to something more, but I think you're now saying, I'm going to take it that you're now agreeing that you're happy with it. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Right, let's move on to the substance of the meeting, on to items 276. These are the planning applications to consider, and we'll get Mark working on these. The first one is 0003, which is the Station Road item. You can see, or perhaps you can't. Yes, you can, just about at the right-hand side. Any comments, Mark, needed on that one?
Only to say that the response has actually, I hope you can hear me because I'm getting a bad network quality that will pop up. Can I just check, can people hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Mark.
Could you respond if you can or can't hear me? Excellent. Well, long may that continue, we hope. I will start to go through. The response has now gone back. We have issued a response in favour of this application. So just to show you the picture there, it's the barn there and the old shop to be demolished to make way for a new development. So the reply, because it was a short deadline, the reply to Breckland's already been submitted. So that has gone through. So I don't think we need any further comment on that, Chair, unless you want to.
I will just make a small comment now that we've agreed it's not our job to comment on it anymore, and that is to say that I'm very pleased that the fridges and freezers and so on from that site have been donated by Joe Pearson to the Charles Burrell Centre, which will be used for public support. So that's a nice little gesture and very welcome. And with having said that, we'd like to move on to 0894, which is the Nunnery Drive little expansion or extension. Anything we need to say about that one, please, Mark?
Yeah, just simply to note, what you're looking at is the existing one. Hopefully you can see my little cursor hovering around the kitchen area there. And if I now move on, bearing that in mind, to the next plan, so that where that was this patch here, so you can see an extension going out to the back of the building there. Just to note that they might look like windows. That's actually sort of sliding aluminium doors, or bifolding aluminium doors. So it could be opened out into a sort of make the room part of the garden almost, and then closed off to make it a sort of a room again. So yeah, fairly simple sort of square box, single story extension going on to the house like so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to propose, just to push you a bit, I'm going to propose that we support this. Are there any feelings that that's rushing too much, or that there's an opposition to it?
Agreed, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I love it when they go quiet. Thank you very much for that wonderful, clear comment. I think it was Jenny, was it?
It was, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, so no one else has felt the need to comment on 7600 Drive, so we are supporting that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So next one, have you got you need a proposed and a second, or for that, or are you for the minutes, or are you?
No, you're
are we
okay.
involved?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. So the next one then, 0898, the Thetford Power Station. The background to this is that as they currently stand, their planning permission restricts them to the use of poultry litter, straw and wood chips. They're now, because of they say they've got uncertainty in the sort of poultry business, they're now looking to get up to 35% by weight of unspecified other biomass fuel. So in order to make up the sort of same mix that gives them the right sort of calorific value that they're looking for, they're seeking to use meat and bone meal. This would actually reduce the number of lorry movements slightly, because it's sort of more higher in calorific value, so smaller amounts of it can generate the same amount of power. So they say, and they're saying this would continue to be monitored by the Environment Agency for for the pollution levels, etc. So yes, basically, as I said, it's a matter for the type of fuels that they want to use in their power station. Yeah, over to you, Chair.
Thanks very much for that. Any comments, colleagues, about the proposal to extend the range of fuels that they're able to use?
Got a hand,
Chair,
Dennis Crawford.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I did a hands up on that. Yeah, looking into it and everything. What I mean, this process is it liable to do more pollution and everything, or different kinds of pollution? Because the people of Croxton in the past have complained about any changes here and everything. So
I can only say in response to that according to the application, they're saying odour and noise wouldn't be affected by the proposal, which is regulated and checked by the EA. So it's not a planning issue in that sense. The pollution or potential pollution from the chimney. So they're suggesting that it wouldn't actually make any change to the level of emissions.
okay, thank you.
Or solid waste produced, which remains as a sort of fertilizer product.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dennis. Can I say that I'm not seeing at the moment hands up or whatever, so I'm probably relying, Mark, on you to pick out who wants to speak if there's an indication.
I'll call out, Chair. It's Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Right. I'm okay with it then.
Any other comments, please, on the proposal to expand the range of fuels available at the power station?
No objection, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Okay, I think
Right, so just to clarify, putting that in as a support.
yes.
Support.
I think
Yeah.
we're going to be as strong as that support. That's interesting, because I think they perhaps earned that through a good record over the years. We were all very doubtful about it when they first came. and they've perhaps won us over a bit. Okay, so on to 917 Friars Close.
Yeah, indeed. So this is Friars Close off Castle Lane. I have actually got, now I'm just going to see if I can move over to, are people seeing the view of the building there?
Not
Just
yet.
to put that into
Not yet.
context.
Not yet.
No, okay. I'll just, I have to go back to Teams and choose a different.
You see the next page, it says.
Yeah, so you've still got, you're not seeing the photograph, you're just still seeing the document, are you?
Yes.
Right, I'm just going to have to go back
minute.
to Teams for a minute and see if I can't persuade it to choose a different. I'll stop sharing and I'll open the share tray and just show you that. So, are you seeing the picture now?
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. I have take a good look at it because I will have to sort of go back to the sort of unshare and go back to the document now. So as long as everyone's seen that, I will unshare and return to the main presentation. Okay, so just so that you're aware of the context. So when now you've seen the building, if you hopefully can now see back to the original plans, page marked original plans. And I would draw your attention to this area here on the right of your picture, or towards the right of your picture, where it says lounge with a little octagonal area built onto the side of it. So this is the original plans back from 2004. Now, I'm afraid neither myself nor the Breckland planners have really been able to get much detail back from those original documents. So perhaps some of you may have long memories about this process. But so those are the original plans for the house with the garage side on, so in that direction. If you now, this is a variation of conditions, so it's not referring to the house now. What we're looking at is purely the garage. So there's that lounge room again with the octagon, and you see the garage extending outwards in that direction. So cars on the ground floor. There's actually a car lift in there, which takes it up to the next level. I'm going to show you various sort of elevations. So this is looking at the sort of front of the building on the top there and the back there. That's sort of looking from, let's go back to this one, sort of over this side. And you can see the nearest neighbours there as well, which are marked thus. This one on the top here, you have to pretend the house is kind of invisible or ghostly, and you can look through it sort of from the sort of front of the house or through the front of the house towards the garage. Shows you what it looks like inside. I think these are perhaps the most helpful in visualizing it here. So I hope you forgive me for rattling through the other ones, but this is that again, that lounge with the octagonal room there. There's a little link passageway, flat roofed area there. And you can see the structure, the garage structure over there. So yeah, that's basically it. It's sort of it's the garage being the other way around. Basically, is the main crux of the variation.
Okay, thank you.
Hands up from Jane James.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chris. Jane, would you like to comment, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to speak in support of this application. From an aesthetics point of view, it's very, very much in keeping with the building that's already there, and the works that the resident had done previously to this building are extremely sympathetic and well done. So I'd expect the same high level of workmanship on this part. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now from Dennis Crawford.
Dennis, please.
Hi, yeah, good. My only, I think it's really good, but it said in the paperwork that now brings it forward of the footage that was there, didn't it?
Yeah, so basically, if we go back to the original plans, the garage only extends to there, but because it's now basically going that way round, can everyone see the sort of cursor moving there? Yeah, it's extending sort of further from, this is the front of the house line there, if you like. So it's extending out a bit further that way in the
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it
yeah, I see it there. And it brings it right up to the boundary wall, doesn't it?
Well, it's up to the boundary. This is the neighbours here anyway, in that sense. So whichever
Yeah.
way round it would be. That's sort of heading out towards the nearer the road. Yeah. So it's basically that's
Yeah,
the
the front
entrance
of the
there.
road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why they would do that because it allows the cars to go in and out better too. I think, yeah, I'm with Jane. I think I would support it, definitely.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful from Jane and Dennis. Any more comments, please? Otherwise, we're looking like a supporter.
No, support.
James has asked to speak again.
Jane would like to come in again?
Yeah, I just really wanted to further elaborate. Whilst that the garage block will be within the grounds of the property, there is already a wall there, so it will be built within that wall space. And the resident has done a significant amount of clearance because there was a lot of overhanging greenery, shall we say, and they've cleared an awful lot of that back. So that's actually enhanced the streetscape.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think
Yeah,
you can
thank
just see the wall there, actually, can't you? I think that's that little structure there.
There.
Everyone happy with us being a supporter, colleagues?
Yes, please.
Yes, support.
I've got
Okay.
Dave Hodgkinson asking.
Thank you very much, everybody. That's great. So we're a supporter there, and we're going to move on to the Forest Retail
I've got
Park
to-
item.
Dave Hodgkinson would like to speak, Mike.
Sorry, Dave, do you want to come in? Are we missing you out, Dave?
No, it wasn't a hands up. I just put a message
Oh. I just support.
in the chat.
Supporting.
Yes. Let us look at 928, which is the Forest Retail Park, which you may wish to comment on, colleagues, but I'll let Mark explain it first. I think because there are a couple of points that have come up that we might want to focus on. Mark, on the Forest Retail Park, please.
Yes, so first things first. So we're looking at a KFC and a Costa. I think most people will be familiar with the area. It's between B&Q and Curry's Pets at Home existing developments. So there is planning permission in place for construction of retail units in there. At the moment, it's for non-food retail and restaurant eat-in uses. What they're looking for is, I mean, obviously with KFC and Costa, they're looking to be able to have people either eat in or take away. So they're looking for basically expansion of that planning permission to include takeaway. Yeah, so I'll show you the buildings in a minute. While we've got the bit up about the ecological report, I don't see it as my role to sort of try and express an opinion on whether a development or not should or should not happen. However, I would just like to flag up that it's my opinion that the ecological report at the moment doesn't provide you with what I feel is enough evidence on which to make an informed decision. It is very largely desk-based and in some senses a very thorough job, but there doesn't seem to be much evidence that the report has actually looked at what's on the ground on the site. Now, I had a sort of brief look at this, and although I mean, I haven't seen anything like a Nuns Bridges scrape or anything suggesting that we might need to, that this would necessarily, as I said, preclude any development on the site. But there's enough there which does suggest that there's quite high value habitat in the area. It strikes me in many ways as quite a similar situation to the new site proposed on Caxton Way, which I think a lot of people are familiar with, where an initial proposal which would have involved sort of covering almost all the site with development has been amended to include areas of retained grassland habitat. So there are, as I said, there's some grassy heath there with a number of species, which does suggest that it's as I said, of some significance and should be considered at least. And again, on the ecological report, it does suggest a sort of planting with kind of standard issue things in that area. And again, I think that sort of doesn't sufficiently take account of the existing species and habitats that are there. So if you were looking to include sort of mitigation for the damage being caused by placing the development on the site, I would say you might look to long-term retention of some of the site as open grassy heath and appropriate management to retain that habitat. So as I say, I just wanted to flag that up because it may be sort of a bit of a technical issue in some ways that, as I say, I'm not sure that the ecological report that you've seen so far does give you enough information, really. Having said that, if you have a look at the actual development, you can see on the top right there where it says the site. It looks like that, I would say, is the area that would be covered by these buildings. These are examples of similar ones. They're sort of, in many ways, quite typical of sort of Costas and KFCs that you would see everywhere. But that does potentially give scope for retaining other areas of the site and enhancing the existing habitat around sort of, I'll just go back there slightly, around the sort of top and sides of the site, which are not included within sort of proposed development area. So other issues you might want to think about, we've got the KFC number 1 here and Costa number 2 there. The issue of access is potentially quite significant as well. So the proposal is that people would come into the site via the retail park as they currently do for all the shops, but then they would exit via the existing service road that sort of comes around the back of we've got Curry's, Pets at Home there, and I think it was Mr. Shoes, wasn't it there? I can't remember what it is now. But they would come through this service road as it's currently used and exit that way. So they come in the normal way, but exit that way. At the moment, there isn't a highways comment up there yet. So you may have sort of thoughts on that. The buildings themselves, as I said, it's sort of quite standard for buildings of this type, I would say. If anyone wants to look at that in more detail, I'll sort of come back to these slides as required. And there is, as I said, a mention of some greenery amongst and seating in the external areas as well. So they have done, as I said, they have done a transport assessment, which is mentioned there. We'll come to the separate advertising signs application in a second if you want, because I think you've already got quite a lot to consider. So you've got basically the application for those 2 buildings there in that position there. Back to you, Mr. Chair, I guess.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Councillors Crawford, Hollis, and James in order.
Right, we'll take you in that order, colleagues. So that's Dennis first.
All right, thank you, Chair. I'm notwithstanding, I've been waiting for Kentucky Fried Chicken for about 30 years in this town. So I have a bias there a bit, but yeah, I take on what I'm basically in favor of it. Anything would help to increase employment in this town at this stage in our COVID thing. Is always a good thing for me, but I take on what Mark's saying about, I think we should specify that the area, some of the grassland be retained and everything, because we are in short supply on the grassland and we don't want to really do too much more. So rather than put trees there, leave it out to like a meadow kind of thing. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure I've got the order right. Was it Jenny next?
Yes.
Yes, please. Thanks, Chris. Yes, Jenny, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You did say, Mark, that this has got planning permission for other usage, but buys the food side, yes?
Yes. So basically, they can, as it currently stands, is non-food retail and restaurant/fast food, but doesn't include takeaway.
Right. So basically, what my understanding is then that they want to change the usage, but I was looking at the site plan where it's got the site, the red one you showed, and I'm looking, there's quite a lot of ground behind that, isn't there?
Yeah.
So obviously nothing's going to intrude on that.
At this stage, it seems not. So, as I said, if you were looking for sort of opportunities for mitigation, I would suggest that does seem possible. Yeah.
So maybe if they stick to what their site plan is, then we have got that amount of greenery behind.
At this stage,
At this time, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
whether they would intend to put further buildings on there at a later date is not clear from any information I've seen on this so far. So,
But
yeah,
then that would be another planning application if there was any, and that's where maybe we can put some
yeah.
put some clause in. But I'm actually in favour of it as long as they leave that greenery bit at the back. Yeah, I'm in favour. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Chris, can you remind me who the third person was, please?
It was Jane James, and now after Jane, Chris Harvey says he's in favour of this application.
Yes. Jane, I think it's you now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think if appropriate traffic control measures are put into place on that current service road, I would welcome its use because it would alleviate an awful lot of congestion that we currently have on that sole exit that we have on that particular area. I would ask, and this is a really personal observation, that appropriate ventilation and air pollution mitigation measures are put in place, because I have been up there and I have felt physically sick with the stench that has come from other places in the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wonder whether we can make a note of that, at least to remind ourselves to come back to it. Oh dear, I think my memory's gone again. There is someone else who wants to come in, is there?
No, that's okay. Chris Harvey says he's in favour of the application.
Chris, you just wanted to say that you support it.
Yes.
Yep, that's fine. Okay. I think we've covered the main issues that seem to have risen pretty well. One was to do with the quality of the entrance and exit. I think we ought to be concerned about the increasing the amount of traffic going in and turning right, effectively turning right from the town end to go into the site at what's often called the Sainsbury's site. We don't want to encourage a further tailback there. They have, to some extent, mitigated that by saying that you exit the site from another corner, which is what Jane referred to quite rightly. And it does seem sensible. I wonder whether that's been given sufficient weight by the highways as to whether we can have endless more turnings off the London Road. However, let's rely on highways to do that, perhaps. I wanted to make a brief point about the comment about increasing employment. I'm not convinced this is other than wish fulfillment by the builders of the new proposed sites. Actually, what will cause more unemployment is if we eat more, then we will need more places to provide food. Unless we eat more, I can see we're just shifting employment from one place to another. So I wouldn't myself want to give a lot of weight to the claim that this is a good thing because it's to increase employment. It will channel the employment from one place to another. And the other point that we made that Mark was eloquent about to begin with, and I think Jenny supported with a caveat that as of now, we do have green space behind the site that's to be developed. The time to look for grassland to be retained is perhaps when it's threatened. At the moment, that would be the next application if anyone wants to build behind these sites. Can we also take a note of Jane's point about, Jane, can you come back and just refresh us, please, on the point you were making about controlling the odours? Was that the phrase?
I think that's the nicest way to put it. Yes, Chair.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm quite happy to be nasty in private, but in public, we want odour control, please. I wonder whether, Chris, this is different one to minute. I think we're saying we're in support in principle.
Yes.
That's it. The general feeling is that those who've spoken have been in favour. So we're supporter, but we have concerns about the highways issue. We have concerns about the odour control, and I think we're saying let's leave the grassland issue for the next time around. It might be worth, if we can, saying something like, we're pleased that there will still be a reasonable amount of open space, and the implication is, but we don't want it filled up next time around. I wonder whether you could you feel you've been able to take a note of that, Chris? That's a hard one.
Yes, that's Mark as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I can. Yeah, I think I can put that into words to say that would support it within its current boundaries, noting that areas of potentially important grassland remain behind the site, and that you would wish to ensure that highways is highways opinion on traffic management is taken into account, with particular reference to traffic turning right off London Road into the development, and that suitable odour control is installed to ensure there is no public nuisance from the kitchens.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. Is everyone
I've got
happy
some
with
hands
that?
up now, which is Carla first of all, and then Dennis Crawford.
Okay, Carla, your turn now, please.
Hi there. Thank you. I actually, as I was listening, other speakers, I realized that most of the comments have already been mentioned by Jane and Mark. I'd like to reinforce Jane's point. I think is really valid. The last thing we want is for another business that creates steams and vapors that quickly spread around. She's spot on. It is an issue that with some of the commercial kitchens and a lot of fried items being cooked constantly, that you'll find yourself that the air is saturated with the smell of food. And that's not good, actually. Rather than attracting people to the area, it detracts from visitors, to be honest, my opinion. I don't have a problem with the screen spaces so much at the back, because I think there's plenty of space on the back. So that's something that's depressing for me. But I do concern about the amount of traffic increasing on into the London Road. So providing that the highways looks at it, and that the exit is done properly, because sometimes all it takes is for the exit in the entrance to the main road not to be done in the appropriate manner, and it kind of creates a backlog of cars that comes from town and into the exit that transfers to the roundabout. So other than that, it's the points already been mentioned, and I would be supporting as long as those points get addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Was there
Dennis Crawford, yeah.
Dennis, I think you might be getting the last word here, Dennis.
Thank you very much, Mike. I have to disagree with you. I think it will increase employment, because 2 units are hoping it's going to, unless we close other things down because of it. But my main thing has been covered already. I was going to come back and talk about, well, I'm a bit concerned about how many bins are for rubbish there, because we have a real big problem, like everybody else, with people throwing their rubbish on the ground instead of in bins. Is there a sufficient amount of depositories for rubbish?
Yeah, I'm just going to see if I can zoom in a bit on this and see whether you can see it. It's the devil is in the detail with these things. That looks to me like it's too fuzzy. I'm just going to try, if you're happy for me to do so, to come out of this and see if I can get show you a more detailed, hopefully I have got, there we are, a more detailed plan, which might show up the bins. I can just see some little X's basically for litter bins. So there and there. Is everyone able to see this at the moment?
Yeah, I can see it.
There's two there, and one there. And
seems like an awful lot more signs and then litter bins.
Yeah, I can't actually see any around Costa and such.
Yeah, both of them need to have a mitigation amount of litter bins to help with that.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, to be fair, I might not be seeing it. It's quite difficult to zoom into enough detail. But do you wish to note, make a note that's
I think
a
that's the way to
sufficient
do
litter
it,
bin
Mark.
provision
Yeah,
is also
I suggest that we make a note to the effect that
yeah, another one there.
we expect plenty of litter bins to be provided, or some such
Yeah.
general phrase.
Yeah,
Just alerts the committee or that whoever decides this to the fact that we mustn't forget to insist on litter bins.
And to be emptied by the proprietors, so that the council don't get stuck with it. Yeah.
Thank you, Dennis. You've been a bit of
Chair, it's Chris Crimmen here. I put myself on hands up, but it doesn't say who it is, so it's me. I might be able to get you a little bit of information on the exit road, because last Saturday I was caught in what Jane was talking about earlier, a real sort of traffic jam when I visited the sports shop the other end. And there was a lady there directing people to that particular exit, which I had no idea was there. So that exit is already made, the exit road is there, and it comes out about 200 or 300 yards nearer to the town from where the entrance and exit is at the moment.
I think that's very helpful, Chris. The inevitable problem is for those people who want to turn right onto the London Road, that's where the issue rises. Really, if you're turning left, it's not too bad.
Right, yeah.
I think we have to accept that and leave that to highways to decide if they have a system, they have a way of measuring it.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest, colleagues, that we've given that one a pretty good airing, and we've had
There's just one more, Jane James, Chair.
Sorry, Jane, have we ignored you?
Not at all, Chair. It was just really in response to Mr. Crimmen's comments. The service road exists, and I have to confess that I am a person that has whipped round there when I have been the other end of there. Mostly pets at home, actually, I have to say. Other food places for pets are available. But the issue is, and very specifically why I raised the issue of appropriate traffic control measures, is because lorries and cars do not mix, and that is specifically why there are service areas that are away from the main parking areas, and that's why I wanted to draw attention to the appropriate traffic control measures being put into place for that. You can get round there now, but obviously you do face meeting an Arctic at the moment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure that's made things easier, but you may be very wise to point that out. There is no alternative for the Arctics, is there? They're going to come that way, aren't they? I mean,
you're absolutely correct, Chair.
This does propose to make a mix that we've tended to avoid before, despite the fact that one or two knowing people, not to name any, have occasionally nipped out that way. I think perhaps if we draw attention, Mark and Chris, to that in our comments, if we can, again, I think in the end we have to be guided by highways, but it's a very fair comment. My memory is it's not a particularly wide road. It's intended really for, I think originally it was intended to be one way. At any rate, meeting an Arctic there's probably not what anyone would choose, particularly if they've got a mouthful of bun at the time and they're not giving full attention to the road. Can we find a phrase for that, Mark, to make the point that we expect good traffic management on that exit road?
Yes, I think so, Chair. That should be fine, in line with highways guidance.
Yeah, and it has to be in line with, right? Yes.
Yeah, we would seek to. I think it's perfectly reasonable, I think, for us to show our local knowledge in the sense and contribute that to the way that highways would then make their decision. So we can flag that up as an issue that we would like to see solved as part of the highway management.
Okay.
There's a hand up from Carla Benedetto.
Carla, let's come back, please.
Actually, it's been covered already. I'm spot on with Councillor James. I think, well, I mentioned before the exit into the roads, it creates traffic, but obviously she pointed out the mix with lorries and cars, which is a concern, but that's been covered. So providing highways looks and addresses to all those issues, that's not a problem.
Right, thank you very much indeed. I think we're almost ready to move on to the same place, really.
Yeah.
If our minutes take us happy with what they've got, can we look at 929, which is the signboards, the advertising and directional signage on that site. This is 929. Mark, is there anything that needs saying about this?
Probably not a great deal, except hopefully everyone's all had a chance to see the various signage and infrastructure sort of advertising around the site. It is a separate planning application, or obviously it is linked to that same site. If anyone wants to see where they are, I'll just have to sort of unshare and go back to sort of one of the other slides, which shows you where they are. But basically, they are all basically around that site that we've already just been discussing, as you say.
Any comments on the signage, please, ladies and gentlemen?
No.
I support it, Mr. Chairman.
I think we're probably stuck with them, aren't we?
Yes.
The great thing is that they are internal to the site, so they don't contribute to street furniture that on the main road. They don't contribute to a visual lack of amenity or visual confusion among drivers. They are intended to help drivers who are driving at a small speed to avoid the artics that Jane has referred to, so hopefully there shouldn't be any problem. I'm going to suggest that we, can we dare support this, or do we just want to be neutral about it? Any thoughts? Happy to support, colleagues?
I support it.
Support, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Support.
I think that's enough. We are a supporter. And if we like to move on to 277, which is late planning applications. Mark, you've got one labelled at 8 Primrose Close.
Yeah, so just a quick sort of technical point. Some of you, if you're looking at earlier versions of this, you might be sort of one number behind us on all of these from now on. But it is 27720 late, so yeah, 8 Primrose Close. Yeah, I mean, a fairly sort of simple. That's the building with the sort of conservatory behind it here. So yeah, a fairly sort of simple conservatory extension on the back of that building.
Any comments, colleague? We would normally support this kind of development. Any comments on this particular one, please?
Jane's got a hand up, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Jane, a comment, please.
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman. As a local resident, I don't hold a pecuniary interest because I don't neighbour them, but they are very close by to me. I would support this application. It's very much in keeping with other extensions and conservatories that are prevalent on neighbouring properties. So it's very much in keeping. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think in general we should take the view, kind of guiding us in the way that we want to go, that these developments are quite desirable unless they really impinge badly on the immediate neighbours, and it does enable people to grow their lives without the enormous expense of moving house. Seems quite a good idea to me. So unless there's any further comment, we're going to go down as a supporter for this item. I'll pause and then I shall move on. Okay. Support. That was it. Thank you very much. Thank you, folks. I think there's another one here coming up from Mark. Do you want to comment? Oh, yeah. This is the little window on 18 Churchill Road.
It is quite simply a window there. That's all I have to say on it.
Anyone against windows?
Support. Yeah. Support.
Yeah.
Support.
Thank you very much. Can we just go straight down to the supporter of that one, please, Mark?
Yeah.
And then you've got a list of variances at 278, just for people to note.
Yeah. So 0001, the mobile phone mast behind the Charles Burrell Centre, sort of neighbouring onto the playing fields. Town Council had objected to it for a number of reasons, but the decision's been made now that prior approval is not required for that. 674, this is the substation and cable route, had been referred to committee at Breckland, is now approved. There was obviously concerns at the last planning committee meeting of traffic management. There is a condition in there that says a construction traffic management plan and access routes shall be submitted and approved by the authority, by Breckland, which shall include hours of construction works, again, which was another concern, operation of equipment and deliveries. Not really sure whether that would be expected to cover sort of public inconvenience from sort of traffic movements and the blockage of that, but there is that condition in there. St Nicholas House, this goes back quite a way, but it's a sort of small extra flats going on the top of that historic building. Again, the town council objected, but Breckland have now approved that. Baxter Healthcare, this was last time out. The sort of cooling equipment, there was sort of concern about the noise levels to neighbouring properties. There is a condition in there prior to development noise impact assessment should be carried out, such that the noise levels should not be greater than 38 decibels at the boundary of the nearest affected residential property. It may be worth, if you're in that area, knowing that, and that is the limit that's been set on that one. And not a variance, but just again, rather ancient history. This the Dolphin Inn conversion to flats has been approved. Just as I said, out of interest, as it's a sort of fairly prominent building.
Okay, that's all for information, colleagues. This is what's happened, and we move on, therefore, having given the information, to 279, which is the Suffolk Minerals and Waste Local Plan. And really, I think we're consulted as a matter of politeness as much as anything. Mark, is there anything you would like to say about this one?
Not really. I mean, I've had obviously a series of very long documents that are referred to here, but I've had a brief look at them. I can't see a sort of great impact on Thetford in any way myself, unless anybody knows different.
Anyone wish to comment on the Suffolk Local Plan, colleagues?
Nope.
No, thank you.
It's there. It's there, I think, because it means that lorries may be carrying, HGVs may be carrying gravel or whatever is extracted sand, which marginally impinges on the Norfolk boundary. So it's slightly in Thetford, but I don't think of any effect on the town. So I'm going to suggest we move on to 280, which is the government's planning white paper. Mark, would you like to introduce this, or is it something you want to say about it?
Well, to be honest, I don't think there's anything really for me to say on this, except to say that this white paper has been issued and there is a sort of consultation ongoing. So that's open to anyone to make their comments on sort of was potentially, obviously, a significant change or many changes to the planning system as a whole. So yeah, I'll leave it to councillors to discuss, basically.
Okay, colleagues. So what we've got here is a very profound proposal to change the planning system for the future. It is quite likely that what we're going to do is to end up by saying, and I kind of admit this in advance, we may well end up saying, we don't entirely agree, folks, so therefore we put in our own comments as we wish to. That's all part of the consultation, that you're entitled to make comments. However, if you'd like to discuss it now, then far ahead. So are there any comments to be made now from anyone, please?
Hands up from Dennis Crawford.
Dennis, you're quick again, off the mark, so here you go.
Hello, Chair. Yeah, well, this is a little bit dear to my heart. I haven't read the whole thing, although I got through the main parts of it, and it looks to me like it's just going to take any control out of the hands of local and just give it to the plan, to the developers. So I would not be in favour of it, but I don't think there's anything we can do about it. So yeah.
Right. I think you've probably spoken for a lot of us, Dennis.
Yeah.
Are there further comments, please, colleagues?
No.
No, thank you.
I do think.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Councillor James has just put a hand up, Chair.
Jane, would you like to comment, please?
Thank you, Chair. I've tried reading this a number of times.
Yeah, me too.
And and coming from a literature student that's read Dombey and Sons, yeah, it's doing, saying. In parts, the paper contradicts itself. It talks about a fast track for beauty, and then talks about data-driven. I think the key elements that we need to be mindful of as a town council is that the key focus in major developments, because there's sort of 3 tiers for growth, regeneration, and then sort of, they phrase it very differently, but growth, renewal, and protected. And in terms of the growth areas, the key focus for major developments will be at the plan making stage rather than on individual applications. So much of the discussions that we've had today wouldn't actually be relevant or necessary, because the design codes would be set out either in the local plan or the national design codes. And I think that's something that we need to be really mindful of feeding into when the new local plan gets looked at. And there is consideration within these proposals, and I use those words very mindedly because they are just proposals at the moment. It's ideas floating around. It's not set in stone, she says optimistically. The new local plans would be between 30 and 42 months in turning around. So very, very quicker. Very, very quicker. Sorry, that's bad language. Much quicker.
Terrible grammar.
Terrible grammar. Terrible grammar. But the impact is going to be through the local plan. So if these suggestions are taken forward, I would urge us to be involved at the local plan a lot more, rather than relying on responses when planning applications come in. There's not a lot of emphasis on neighbourhood plans within the paper. But the emphasis within that is given is on the design and design codes again. And that could even go down to street level, which I think probably something that would certainly interest many councillors, especially, unfortunately, some of them who aren't with us this evening, in terms of our heritage and protecting that side of things. So I would urge people to read it through a couple of times, because there are a lot of considerations there. The other thing is affordable housing is now being deemed as first homes within this. It's interesting. It's very, very big strategic change. The idea of which is supposed to give back power and responsibility locally. So that localism agenda, but it is starting to feel like, when they use data-driven an awful lot, there will be decisions by computer. And effectively, computer says no or computer says yes. I think that's all I'll say at this stage. Thank you.
Jane, thank you for that. That's very helpful indeed.
One from Dennis Crawford, please.
Dennis, again, please.
Yeah, it's Jane summarised it quite a bit, but as she said, it's not set in stone, and there is some opportunities to comment on it in the future, so we'll get a chance. But it's basically it's not a bad idea. It's trying to get building houses quicker. But again, there's no mention of social housing in there. There's mention of affordable, but the things we're missing out on is social housing. Affordable housing is not affordable to a good many people in Thetford, and it's being overlooked again. My moan about it that I have with all planning issues. So thank you very much for allowing me to express my opinion.
Thank you, Dennis. Anyone else want to express your opinion, please? I think the importance of the issue has been well highlighted by Jane. I hope, colleagues, that you will feel you want to make your own representation about this. If there is a significant number, I think the government will hopefully, yes, but cautious, I would like to think the government will be listening to it. I do think that councillors who represent the more rural areas, particularly in a place like Breckland, may well be facing a really difficult decision here, because it looks to me as if the villages are at least as much threatened as the towns, and this is unusual for Breckland councillors, and it really does require a lot of concerted thought. I'm not really seeing a lot of enthusiasm for a full town council response. Unless you tell me otherwise, I'm going to suggest that we, as many as possible of us, fill in, write up, make your comments known. This is a genuine consultation, because I don't think it's going to be easy to ignore it if a large number go one way. Thanks to Dennis and Jane who've spoken. Would anyone else like to speak, please? If not, please fill in, and we'll move on to the next item, which is items to be, well, it's our standard item on a parish partnership bid, annual item now. Has anyone got any proposals to make? There is a one shown here at 281, which you can probably see on your screen. If you've got others, now's your chance to raise them, and then I'll invite Mark to come in with this one if it's appropriate. Any further parish partnership proposals, please, colleagues?
Could I jump in there, please, Chairman?
Yes, please.
Just remind you that we had a conversation at ALP about various possible improvements around the Market Square. Some of them might be eligible, some of them won't. But I think the action was for the Deputy Town Clerk to talk to the chap from Norfolk County Council to see what might be popular with them and what might not be. But I would be very keen for us to include that if we possibly can.
Mark, could you remind us of the deadline, please? I can't remember, and it's not mentioned on the papers I've got. Have we got a deadline for this?
We do. I'd have to dig out the last document. I think we've got at least a month, another month before we have to sort of firm this up. It's towards the end of the year, isn't it? Is it the end of October? Any colleagues remember, or do I'll?
So there is. You can see where I'm coming from. The idea is to confirm that we can, if necessary, make a decision in October. We're not obliged to do anything now. Terry, did you want to comment in more detail about what you've just said about reminding us what had been discussed in ALP?
Yeah, we've agreed the specification for the works around the Market Square, particularly the introduction of new lighting, sort of more heritage-themed lampposts, and sort of, I think that would probably fit the parish partnership aspect the most. But other improvements could be around electricity supply for traders, and allowing better sound equipment to be used. But I think it's more the sort of heritage lamp which is relevant for parish partnerships. But we'd have to get David Jacqueline's guidance on that.
Well, I can certainly sort of speak to Ros and get an update on that for you.
Thank you.
Could I stress that I'm treating the one that's on your screen as a kind of standby, so that we've certainly got something to talk about if we wish to. It is much less central than what Terry's been talking about. The roundabouts are the property of Norfolk Highways, that technically they should be looking after, not asking us to. So I'm going to suggest that we take the Market Square proposal as our chosen proposal if there is no other thought or comment from other colleagues.
Agree, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Could I also just reply, Chairman? Mark, you may want to check, as I understand it, there isn't actually a limit on one application per parish. I've seen a number of parishes where they've submitted multiple bids. So if I'm not sure of the proposal above, I assume it's from Mark Webster.
Well, it was actually for something that I think Ros suggested as a possibility.
Okay.
it would be to do with that roundabout there and the sort of muddy appearance of it to try and improve the sort of entrance to the town. I think that's what she had in mind. But I think her intention was to go to David Jacklin with that idea as well as the Market Square as a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, don't rule anything out. If we can apply for more, obviously the downside of that is we have to find 50% of whatever we bid for, and I'm not sure we've got a budget allocation for parish partnership. But yeah, I'm just pointing out that we can have more than one if we want, but we might not want to because we might not even be able to afford the 50%.
I think that's the issue, Terry. Whether we want to split our winnings, as it were. Presumably, it's not likely to lead to us getting a higher proportion of the pot. Hopefully, they. Okay, so having made that point, I think I'm inclined to move on. We're now saying really that in the next few weeks there should be a discussion to take it forward, and perhaps we can have this as an item again on the agenda finally. At the October meeting. If everyone's happy with that, I'm going to be moving on to 282. Yes, I think that's silent, so let's carry on. Items to be referred to the Greater Thetford Partnership. This is a standard item we put on, and normally what we are doing is inviting colleagues to say what should be passed on to the GTP. In this case, it's an opportunity to remind you that Jack Weaver of the GTP has volunteered and agreed to speak to this committee at the next meeting in October. The proposal is that therefore we start the meeting earlier, or we can call it a separate meeting if it's helpful to do that, but we start the meeting at 6:30. I think first I want to get a thought as to whether there's any problems with starting at 6:30. Anyone very concerned about a half hour earlier start?
I don't, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. That's one, and I think we're just just passing that across you. Okay, so that's next time, and I think obviously with Jack, what he will do is present his workings so far, what he's trying to achieve, and then I think it's up to us to ask questions, and we can ask questions then about specific issues that we want to push forward. Are there any that we would like to refer to this time around, and which should be referred as soon as possible to the Greater Thetford Partnership? Any comments from colleagues at that point, please?
Dennis has got his hand up.
Thank you very much. Dennis, far away.
Yeah, as usual, I seem to be contributing to a lot of things here. My great enthusiasm for this organization and its secretiveness now. Our two reps are trying to do their best to give us information when they can and everything. But is there anything that they can tell us has been going on? Because I still don't know what's going on with the partnership, or do we wait for Jack Weaver to come in?
I think your point has been absolutely valid in the past years. I remember vividly the first meeting of Moving Thetford Forward, which was on the area of the St Nicholas House, which is now to become flats, right at the top there. I can remember going as a member of the public, wanted to ask a question, and I was sitting precisely behind the chairman. I could see that my question, if I put my hand up, I could have waved it all day. I think it's gone from bad to worse. The point about Jack coming is to reverse that, to say that now there's evidence the Greater Thetford Partnership is intending to be more open in its discussions, and I hope you can encourage that and welcome it. Having said my piece on that, are there other colleagues, perhaps those who represent us on GTP, who want to reply to Dennis or to encourage Dennis?
James put her hand up.
From Councillor James.
Okay.
As I am the only Thetford Town Council rep in this meeting,
okay,
I presume you'd like me to respond.
Well,
thank you, Jane.
I mean, anyone who's read Dombey and Son deserves to be listened to.
Yeah.
I didn't say I finished it.
Well, carry on. Try and finish this.
Yes, so I mean, following the previous previous planning meeting, I requested twice that I was able to share Jack's monthly board updates with yourselves. because as rightly so, and as Dennis has pointed out on a number of occasions, we are contributing to the salary of this role.
Yeah.
I'm pleased to advise that you were all emailed that, I believe, start of last week, following a conversation that Mark Webster had with Jack Weaver. So you are as informed as I am in between the meetings. Unfortunately, I was unable to make last Tuesday's meeting, and Stuart Wright attended in my place for me. So I can't actually comment on the outcomes or discussions of this meeting, but hopefully Terry's got his hand up, which is a beautiful segue in, and perhaps he'd like to assist. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Terry, you're on.
I've never heard of the book that Jane's read, but I'm glad I can still contribute to the discussion. Just 2 points. I also wasn't at the Greater Thetford Partnership meeting last week, but I have read the minutes that have already come out from the meeting last week. And it is minuted in there that the papers can be shared with all town councillors, as Jane alluded to, and that's actually written in the minutes. So I think that's a really good step forward. So that's the first point. The other one is we can talk as much as we like about what's gone on in the past, but actually it's irrelevant. This is the first time with Jack's role that the town council has financially contributed to the partnership, and it's a big contribution, and I think that gives us an opportunity, if you look at it in one way, but also a challenge. What do we want as a town council for Jack to be doing on our behalf? Because you can be damn sure other people that are contributing are being very clear on what they want his 37 hours a week to achieve. What are our priorities as a town council? And if we don't know what they are tonight, I would suggest we do know what they are when Jack comes, because he's new into post. He's, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I'm very pleased with his appointment. I was on the interview panel the same as Jane. His strength is very much around partnerships, and one of the things that's impressed me so far is he's been out and met with a whole number of people already. I put him in touch recently with the new manager of the Charles Burrell Museum, and I see from his Twitter feed that he's been out there and obviously met with them. He's met with the River Group, he's met with Greater Anglia, I think that's the right body for the train station. What do we want as a town council to be our priorities? And so I'll throw the challenge back to colleagues. I'm in a privileged position in that I'm actually a Breckland rep on the panel, and I've already had discussions with Breckland colleagues about what we want to be, from a Breckland perspective, asking Jack to focus on. What does the town council want him to be doing?
Fair enough. Thank you. That's a good challenge, and it's an important issue to raise. Thanks for the positivity, but also particularly for the point you make that we need to be going with our ideas. What do we care about in the future development of Thetford? What's important to us? If you will, please spend the next 4 weeks thinking how you would like to see Jack leaving that meeting with us. He's coming to us, he's giving us an opportunity to speak to him. Let's grab that and say, here, this is what we want for our town.
There's a hands up from Councillor Hodgkinson.
Councillor Hodgkinson, would you like to come in, please? Pleasure to hear from you.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that when the reports were sent out and distributed to everybody, I actually replied to Jack, because his email was in it, and asked him a few questions, and we had a bit of an interchange on the email, and then he invited me to have a phone call with him, which I did today. Found him very approachable, very positive, and sounds like he's really getting to grips with his role now he's been moved off the COVID role that he was given. He is available, and we have his email address, so if you need to talk to him and find out what he's up to, then I recommend you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more on the Greater Thetford Partnership, which we're leaving, if we are leaving it, we're leaving with probably a more positive, buoyant role as a feeling than we've done for many a long year, and that's perhaps that's to credit our representatives, well, a town council representative and someone representing Breckland, but also for those who've taken initiative, like Dave, and spoken to Jack already. That sounds great. Many thanks to everyone for that. Jack then will be starting us off. Obviously, he will be the first on the agenda, so he'll be here at 6:30 in a month at the next Thetford Town Council Planning Committee. Let's hope that we can really make good use of that half hour or so with him. And with that, I'm going to move on to 283 officers' updates, when Mark always said nothing, but he might be giving a surprise today.
Yeah, I'm afraid 2 in a row. I don't want to set this as a precedent, but there is just one brief thing to mention. Just on that last item, if you're looking for the email that was referred to, I can confirm it was sent Tuesday the 8th at 12:24. And it does seem to have all the town councillors on. So if you haven't had that, do have a hunt round, or Jack will definitely send it to you if you wish. So yeah, the officers' update is purely that the Norwich Western Link Road consultation, there's a consultation particularly to do with public rights of way and other sort of transport issues around that, and it's obviously not an issue that's sort of directly affecting the area, but if you do wish to make your views known on that, the consultation details are there.
Thank you for that. I'm not suggesting, colleagues, that we make a town council response. You can put me right if you want to, but just encouraging everyone to feel that you're entitled to respond, and that we're now getting towards the closing date. So in the next 2 weeks, if you want to respond to the Norwich Western Link, please do so. And having said that, I think we're going to move on again. If I can find the point on the agenda, I will do it. Is it on the screen?
On the screen again now. Community.
Okay, so really we're on to community engagement only, colleagues. So any thoughts on whether we need to engage the community, any media release or whatever?
Nothing further from me, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm not hearing anything from anyone else. In which case, ladies and gentlemen, the meeting comes to its final moment when we say thank you very much, everyone who's attended. Thank you for a very good range of helpful comments, and meeting closed.